Hey everybody, it's me. Just wanted to pop on here to give you a short podcast to kind of give you an update as to what's going on. First of all, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Season's Greetings, Happy Hanukkah, and all the other stuff. Get that out of the way because it's been a very tough year for us all with the pandemic and everything else going on. And the reason I haven't done more of these, to be perfectly frank, is that I have been depressed. I've been just drained emotionally because of the election and the pandemic and all the other stuff going on. And it just got to the point where I just really didn't have the energy to do this, or the will to do it, or just the gumption to do it. And my apologies for that. I had a lot of plans I wanted to do with this podcast, and unfortunately, because of the lack of energy and a lack of desire to really do the podcast, I didn't do anything I really wanted to do with this podcast. So I'm hoping to be able to do that starting tomorrow, to do some stuff with this podcast tomorrow and all of that. So I'm hoping to finally get the chance to do what I've been wanting to do for a very long time with this podcast, and as well as the other podcast I have. On this specific podcast, what I'm planning on doing next year is to try and at least do one sports podcast a week, more if I can. I'm going to try and regain my love of sports, if I can. This year's been very trying. To be honest with you, I've played some fantasy football, but I've really not been that passionate about it. I've watched some football. It's one of those things that, because of everything else going on, at times it seemed like, why the hell are we playing these games? You know, it's almost like, with COVID still being out there, and now spikes and new cases coming and new deaths all over the place. It's just like almost a theater of the absurd at times. So, yeah, it's not been easy to deal with this. And I wish I could be one of those people that can just, shove it aside and do the stuff. I don't get paid for this. This is a hobby, and I just do this for fun. And sometimes when you're when you're not having fun in life, even when you don't have any desire or passion, or, to be honest with you, the last 2 or 3 months, I've pretty much felt like I go to work, I come home, I sleep, I mess around a little bit on YouTube, maybe watch a show here, a show there, a movie here, a movie there, and that's it. I go to sleep. I've been sleeping, or at least attempting to sleep a lot, and I'm trying to figure out a way to where I can actually feel better enough to where I can do this. I'm sure many of you have had the same problem. You've gained weight through all this. Maybe some of you are out of shape like I am, and I need to improve that. I really need to lose a lot of weight because I'm not getting any younger. And I get tired a whole lot easier, and it's kind of worried me a little bit, especially given this stupid pandemic going around that's just seemed like it's driven the whole world entirely insane, even more so than it already was. Let me first of all tell you that next year I'm going to try and at least do some of the things that I promised in the past on this podcast, some of the sports history stuff, some of the watch-alongs if I can. That's kind of what I'd like to do. I'd like to try to do some interviews with some folks to talk not just about football, but in the terms of what's going on right now, but sort of the evolution of particular parts of sports, like the evolution of football positions, the evolution of the passing game in football, how offensive football has taken hold, and how defensive football has regressed, and all of that. Maybe get some guests on here. I do know that on my laptop, the new laptop I've got, which I've actually had for about bordering on 2 months now, I have Skype capabilities. So when I get that back online, I'm going to utilize that to and North Carolina Tar Heels lost to Wolfpack 79-76. Damn. That just popped up. And to be honest with you, I didn't even realize they were playing today. That's how crazy a year it's been. It's just been, it ain't exactly breaking. Breaking heart because it's like, oh, well, it's another game, Sucks we lost, but life goes on because, let's face it, this year has brought about a lot of changes that I'll probably talk about in my John Thomas Hill podcast in the near future, maybe as soon as tomorrow, about where we were before this started, where we've gone through this, and where we're likely to be at the end of this. So what I'm hoping on doing is getting back in the swing of things next year. I know you hear the same things, new year, new you, and all this. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on myself, but I might feel it, and I may start as soon as tomorrow. I want to kind of get back into writing. I want to get back into podcasting and such, and try to find the time or make the time to do it. I'm sure, like a lot of you, the news has just drug you down, and it's almost as if, the world can't simply go, well, enough is enough. Let's just, at least, like Rodney King used to say, we'll try to get along. Excuse me. That kind of snuck up on me. I hate when I do that. But anyhow, I'm tired, and I'm going to go to sleep here in a little bit. I may do some podcasting tomorrow. I'm not sure. But I wanted to come on here and to talk to you folks about this, about what to expect. I have actually 4 podcasts, but I'm probably going to drop one. So I'm probably going to wind up doing just 3. That's going to be the John Thomas Hill podcast, which will basically be stuff that is your usual news stuff and all of that, and some political stuff, some, stuff that's outside of sports and geek stuff. The RSN podcast, Rutherford Sports Network podcast, will be basically about sports and sports alone. And we are going to, or I'm going to at least, do some stuff here and talk about the future of we'll not just do the usual topics you hear on Sports Talk every night, Take the long view of things, the long view back, the long view forward, and all of that. And on the Carolina Geek podcast, we'll do a lot of watch-alongs and all of that. I'm probably going to try and give me the excuse to watch Star Trek Discovery and The Mandalorian. Now, let me stress, I'm not a huge fan of Star Trek and not a huge fan of Star Wars. I like them, but I'm not very passionate about it. It's sort of like a casual, it's like you're a passionate football fan, you're a passionate baseball fan, you're a passionate basketball fan, but you like soccer well enough to if it's a good game, you'll watch it, but you're not following along with it passionately. You're not. If you kind of like hockey, you watch it if it's on, but you're not passionate about it. You'll watch when the playoffs are on. Hey, well, there's a cool game, and all that. It's like my attitude used to be with NASCAR. I've kind of fallen out of interest with NASCAR because, quite frankly, excuse me, they've made NASCAR into just, when they put the playoffs in, they made the rest of the season almost irrelevant. Okay, and I may do a podcast in the near future where I talk about what I would do if I ran NASCAR. And I'll give you a brief preview. I'd scrap the playoffs. I would have multiple championships. I would have a overall season championship. I'd have a first half championship. I'd have a second half championship. I'd have a short tracks championship. I'd have a super speedways like Talladega, Daytona and such, and I'd have I guess you could say traditional tracks like Atlanta, Charlotte. I would have it to where I would cut back I would bring back Darlington and Rockingham and maybe eliminate races, the places where they had two races, except for Charlotte and Daytona and Talladega. Those are I think they've stretched it so far. And honestly, I think that, to be perfectly frank, I'd like to get rid of the road courses. I mean, NASCAR is not a road course challenge. Yes, it's nice to see them turn left once or turn right once in a while on a road course at Watkins Glen and Sonoma. But to me, that would be the crux of that deal. I may do that. Hell, I may do that tomorrow. I don't know. There's a lot of things we need to change about sports. And I think that's one of the topics I'd like to address sometime next year is how do we get the joy of sports back? I mean, we've got basketball players making $40 million a year now. You got baseball players making $25, $30 million a year. You got football players making, 10, 12, whatever millions of dollars, and hockey's making something like that too. And I'm all for making money, and because it's a very short window that elite players have to make money, and I understand that. But at the same time, in my humble opinion, it's not just about making money. It's about the joy of sports. We've lost the joy of sports. It used to be a pleasant distraction from the realities of the world. And now it's no longer that. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the truth. I mean, you can't really deny it. I look at it like this, once upon a time, I'm gonna charge this thing up. Can I make a very, very astute observation? Why in the heck did the folks, the powers that be at whoever made the micro USB cables, not do like with the lightning cables and just make it to where it doesn't matter which side you put it on, it'll go in? because they are a pain. Now I know the new ones, like the ones for my. Why does this thing not want to go in? Jesus. There we go. All right, I'm charging up the keyboard, the wireless keyboards to my tablets. I got an iPad and I got a Galaxy Tab. I like having the Android and the Apple and the the iOS. So yeah, there's that. I know I'm rambling. I'm gonna get off here and go to bed. I wanted to come on here and talk, and I'll probably do some podcasts tomorrow since I'm off until Saturday. Until that time, hope you folks have a great holiday season, and try to at least enjoy it. I know it's going to be hard this time of year. Stop being selfish. Wear your mask. Social distance. Be vigilant about keeping your hands clean and keeping yourself safe. Yeah, I know you probably want to go see your family members and all of that. And there's people who go, well, it may be the last one. Well, there's this thing called Skype. There's this thing called Zoom. There's this thing called a telephone. There's this thing called FaceTime. Utilize that, folks. Okay? You know, we're not promised tomorrow, obviously. But you could walk out in front of a bus tomorrow, or drive out in front of a bus, or drive out in front of a tractor trailer rig and not even see them coming. You know, that's life. You have to deal with it. But you also have to realize that you want to be around for the long haul and plan for the. You live for the moment, but you plan for the future at the same time. That's what I've learned. Well, folks, I know I'm rambling. It's been a while since I did one of these, so I figured I'd come on here and talk to you fine folks. I hope you have a great day, a great night, great Christmas, blah, 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 great New Year. And let us hope that this time next year, that we're still here, this pandemic's gone, and we can actually enjoy things again. For now, as I like to always say, good night, good luck, and may the good news be yours.